You might think Words with Friends and Scrabble are basically the same thing, but you'd be surprised at how different they are. In this video, we'll explore their similarities and differences to help you decide which game suits you best. Both games involve strategically placing letter tiles to rack up points. They've both captivated millions of people around the world, sparked rivalries, and led to a few thrown dictionaries. But there are key differences. Let's dive in. First, let's cover some of the similarities between the two games. Both Scrabble and Words with Friends are word games using letter tiles on a 15 by 15 grid board. In fact, the boards look extremely similar. Each game features colored spaces on the board that provide bonus points. The goal of the game is to spell a word that connects or intersects with another word already on the board, in order to get as many points as possible. Longer words with high-value letters earn more points. Bonus squares multiply your score, adding some complexity to the strategy. The good news is casual players of one game will likely enjoy the other. Now let's dive into the differences, starting with the board layout and scoring. Both games use a 15 by 15 grid, but their bonus square layouts differ. Scrabble has more double word scores, while Words with Friends has more triple letter spaces. This difference affects strategy. For example, in Words with Friends, players are incentivized to place high-scoring letters on letter multiplier squares, while Scrabble players may be more focused on creating words that have a longer word length. Next, let's compare the letter tiles and their values. Scrabble uses 100 letter tiles, while Words with Friends has 104. In Words with Friends, tiles tend to have higher point values than in Scrabble. For example, the letter C is worth 4 points in Words with Friends, but only 3 points in Scrabble. The letter J is worth 10 points in Words with Friends, while it is worth 8 points in Scrabble. The frequency of certain letters also varies between the games. Letters like D, E, H, S, and T are more frequent in Words with Friends. Meanwhile, letters like I and N are more common in Scrabble. Now let's discuss special features and bonuses. In Scrabble, scoring a bingo or using all 7 tiles in your rack gives you a 50-point bonus. In Words with Friends, using all 7 tiles earns you a 35-point bonus. Words with Friends leverages popular digital gamification features, offering 4 power-ups to enhance gameplay. Tile Swap Plus allows you to swap tiles without ending your turn. Hindsight shows you an alternative move after your turn. Word Clue provides hints for word placement. And Word Radar highlights all playable word locations on the board. These power-ups add a uniquely modern and digital element to Words with Friends. Another key difference is the dictionaries used by each game. Casual Scrabble typically uses the official Scrabble Players Dictionary, or OSPD, while Tournament Scrabble uses the NASPA Word List, or Collins Dictionary. Words with Friends, on the other hand, uses the Enable Dictionary, or Enhanced North American Benchmark Lexicon. NASPA contains around 196,000 words, while Enable only contains about 173,000 words. It's not uncommon for a word that's allowable in Scrabble to be excluded from the Words with Friends dictionary and vice versa. So, at the end of the day, which game is better? There is no objective winner here. It all comes down to personal preference. Scrabble has a rich history and an extensive tournament system. It's the original version of the game, and some people like that classic element. It's ideal for those who enjoy playing physical board games and competing in tournaments. Some people also prefer to play on a physical board with tiles they can hold, rather than playing online. On the other hand, Words with Friends was designed for online multiplayer gameplay. It's perfect for connecting with people online and playing at your convenience, and it's a great option if you don't have an opponent to play with at home. There are Words with Friends tournaments, but they aren't as extensive as Scrabble's. So, each game has its own pros and cons. Try both games to see which one you prefer. Or if you already have a favorite, let me know which one and why in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more word game tips and strategies.